for you and me. Another key change, oh God, oh no. Gig nightmares for you and me. All right, here we are today. Gig nightmares with a very special guest, Mr. Joe Deninzon. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Max? Thanks for having me.
Doing
Yeah.
very well. And I wanted to make sure I had that pronounced right because I was hearing a few different pronunciations of that. And so while I go by Max, my actual legal name is Maxim because my mother's Russian, which I know that you were born in St.
I'm
Petersburg.
Russian as well. Ты говоришь по-русски?
Да, я знаю чуть-чуть.
Okay. And my son is named Max, believe it or not. So,
Oh, wow, look at that.
that's
Awesome.
wild.
So
Good name.
to give a little bit of background on yourself, you've been called the Jimi Hendrix of violin. You've been playing violin and guitar with Kansas since about May of 2023. Throughout your time as a professional musician, you've worked with Sheryl Crow, Bruce Springsteen, Phoebe Snow, Everclear, Ritchie Blackmore, which I want to ask some questions about that. Just
That's another interesting gig story.
perfect.
It's so many. I don't know where to start. Yeah.
Smokey Robinson,
Anyway,
Aretha Franklin, Robert Bonfiglio, Les Paul. You played with the New York City Ballet, jazz at the Lincoln Center. Like you've just done so much awesome stuff. Obviously, you have
just
Stratospheerius. You had Alex Skolnick with you for a while, on and off, which one of my personal favorites. So
yeah, he's great. Yeah.
yeah, just a bunch of awesome stuff you've done. So an honor to be talking to you.
Thank you. Honored to be talking to you as well. Yeah. Hey, do people usually tell just one story on this thing or multiple
However
stories?
many stories you want to tell.
Okay. I was just kind of brainstorming.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
obviously Gloria Carpenter, singer in 80s Revolution with me, she introduced us, made the connection, which she was telling me that she did a gig with you at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park. And I think the group was called Chew the Cud.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. Yeah, there were a bunch of. She probably told you the story, right?
No, she said,
They,
oh, I'll let him tell the story.
they were a bunch of investment bankers and the three guys. I think one was a surgeon, two were investment bankers. A lot of money. I don't know, bought or rented a whole building in Brooklyn just to rehearse and decided to form a band in their late 40s, and they barely could play instruments. And they hired a coach who was kind of the ringer. He was the bass player in the band. So I called it the midlife crisis band. But they put together a gig at the Stone Pony, and it was to raise money for the veterans, I think it was. And it was the whole endeavor was a big tax write-off for those guys. But they had a lot of heart. They were really nice guys, and it was a good cause, and they hired a string section to play with the band. They did stuff by Kings of Leon and the Killers and some punk rock. I'm trying to remember what they played. A bunch of different stuff. And it was cool, but there was kind of marathon rehearsals, and they did not sound good, so it was kind of painful after a while. We were trying to be nice. But they had the best gear, and they had this whole building just to rehearse their hobby band that they put together. It's amazing, because they were kind of bored with their routines in their life, and they wanted to be musicians. So
Midlife crisis.
yeah, it was fun. They got a good group, and Gloria was there, and a bunch of my friends that I worked with before. So yeah.
Awesome. All right,
Anyway,
so I'd like to hear some of the stories that you have prepared.
okay. Are you ready? So the names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty in this case. So this one is I don't think I could top this one. I was in this great band for 13 years. The group kind of broke up when I joined Kansas. It was a really fun band, and one of the founding members was diagnosed with cancer in 2013 and couldn't play anymore and had to step away from the band. So we had to audition a replacement for the guy. This was very specific kind of music that was very complicated to play. The group was pretty successful. We were touring around, and we had a tour, a European tour planned, month-long tour that we had committed to, but this founding member could not physically play anymore, and he had to step away from the band about 4 months before this tour. So we had held auditions for his replacement, and found this guy that we liked. He sounded great. And everything was going well. And then, but something was off about this guy. I couldn't figure out what it was. So there was one rehearsal where he just didn't show up and didn't call. We couldn't reach him. Didn't know what happened to him. Following a few days later, he told us he was in the ER. It didn't give a reason. It was very kind of vague reason. So my gut told me something's not right with this guy, even though he plays well. We did a show with him, and he did fine. So he lived near my house. The day of the flight to Europe, I was supposed to pick him up in Englewood, New Jersey, 15 minutes from my house. And I thought, okay, I should call him just to reconfirm. I call him in the morning, no answer. Call him at 12 p.m., no answer. 1 p.m., no answer. I got to pick him up at 4. The guy's not there. So I have a bad feeling about this. So I go to the house at 4 o'clock with my wife, who's supposed to drive us to the airport. I knock on the door. His sister answers. I go, let's call him John. That wasn't his name, but I'll call him John. Where's John? He goes, I don't know. He was supposed to do a tour with us. Oh, I don't know. She was acting really weird, like she was covering something up. So time's passing and we're going to be late for our flight if we don't leave now. I go, you better tell him to get his ass to the airport because we have a tour we're leaving for. We got to go. So we head to the airport. I tell the other guys, look, John's gone. I don't know where he is. I don't know what to do. And it's getting really close. He's nowhere to be seen or heard. So we get on our phones. We start calling everyone we know to find someone who can clear their schedule for a month and learn some very hard music overnight, fly to Europe. And the first show was not in the morning at night. It was in the afternoon. We had no time to even practice, By some miracle, we found someone last minute. And we also, let me backtrack. So we gave this guy an advance of $2,000 because he asked for an advance out of the band fund bank account, because he had to pay his bills. We gave him money. So we found this guy to replace him. I sent him the music last minute. I said, good luck. We got him a flight. We had to pay for his flight. That was the other thing. We're on a layover in Berlin. We get an email from John. I'm sorry, guys. I was arrested for crack. It's been nice meeting you.
Oh, no.
We had to make up a story to the promoter. We couldn't tell what happened. We had to say he fell ill. And this other guy, the guy who filled in, who was a real good sport about it, he showed up. He worked his ass off. The first show was a disaster, but then we kept practicing straight through up until the next show, and it got better and better. And he ended up staying in the group for a few years, and it worked out. But that was the most stressful experience of my professional life. Not to mention that, we never got that money back that we forwarded to him. Wow. And we lost the money for his ticket and everything. So, yeah. That's a shame. And we saw him 10 years later. He turned his life around. He joined another group that was actually more successful than us and went through rehab and, became, very clean and sober, supposedly. So, yeah.
I mean, that's good that they're doing more successful, but are you ever going to get your $2,000 back?
I don't think so. And it's not really, I'm not the leader of the group. I'm not in charge of getting that money back. I think the guy just let it go, But that was a crazy experience.
Like you see certain sort of like musical archetypes that happen. Like I saw one band maybe a year and a half ago, and the singer was like it was like 80s kind of like new wave band. I'm not going to mention who. And the singer was, voice was completely shot, just like a drunken mess, rambling a lot, spouting random political things, and like the whole band behind them just seemed like very much pained to be there on stage, just thinking, what's going on? Why am I doing this? And I always wondered, even if I was like playing in my favorite band or whatever, what would it be like to actually have to deal with something like that? And I mean, I actually getting glimpses of that. It's not a good time, not a fun time.
And yeah, I hear stories, when I joined Kansas, I heard all kinds of stories throughout the band's history because some members have had problems with drugs and getting arrested and just typical rock and roll stuff,
Sure.
that happens. All the crazy stories you hear, they're true. And then there's stories you don't hear. They're even crazier, and I got to give credit to, um, Phil Ehart, the original drummer of Kansas and the manager, to weather the storm. He always kept the group together. He always kept everyone focused and had to put out a lot of fires. And I was in awe because having led my own band for so many years, I know how hard that is. But to do it on this level at this stage is when there's a lot of money on the line. Everyone's watching you. I was just like, dude, just amazing how he was able to persevere and keep the band together for 52 years.
Absolutely. I mean,
So,
anyone
yeah,
who's like a band leader and can keep a project going. I mean, obviously, you doing Stratospheerius for over 2 decades now. Like, it's
yeah,
anyone who can like
crazy.
keep it going that long is amazing. I was trying to form a top 40 cover band sort of thing like 2 years ago around at this point.
Mm,
Trying to get like the lineup together proved to be nearly impossible just because just kept meeting all the wrong people. Like the booking agent we were working with suggested a singer, like a karaoke singer, and we were working with them. Guy sounded good. And now the one day he just doesn't show up to rehearsal and he calls us and he says, "Oh, I might be going to prison tomorrow." And he tells us, "Oh, yeah, I had to change my name, but I'm on Megan's list." And it's like, "Oh." And because like you have to like I guess go in and do like weekly Steinograph lie detector tests or whatever. And I guess at the most recent one, they didn't like his answers. So they said they called him on like a Friday, said, "Come to our office Monday morning and gather your belongings." It's like, oh, well, I guess he's going to jail. We lost our singer.
wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Man, getting a band together and keeping a band together is one of the hardest things in the world. And I've gone through many personnel changes. People, it's not like something that pays a lot of money. There has to be a financial incentive. They have to be really into the music. They have to be not crazy, not addicted to all kinds of drugs, reliable. And you have to be like-minded. You have to understand what, the kind of music you're playing, what your audience is, and kind of be on the same page with a lot of things. It's a lot of components have to click together for a band to work. And I went through it for 20 years, and people would move on, they get other opportunities, or they weren't into it anymore, or we were just gelling musically or personally. It's a grind. I mean, it took me a while to really find a group that I feel is really committed, and with Stratospheerius, that is, that we're all kind of, I'll believe in the project and understand it. So, yeah, you know, absolutely. I got a lot of Stratospheerius stories too. so,
all right. Well, I'll be
uh,
happy to hear some.
so here's one. This is nothing against any of the members of the band. This was just a crazy situation. So in 2008, we played the Detroit Jazz Festival, and then we had a California tour planned. So this is back when they had those Garmin, the early days of the GPSs, where they have the Garmin GPS that's like a little TV screen, mini screen that goes on your dashboard in your car. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay. So I had that in my van, and we parked. They put us up in the Marriott in Detroit. We parked in the garage. It was a Saturday night where we played. Sunday we had to drive home to New York and catch a plane on Monday to LA. So Sunday morning, I get into the garage. Someone broke the glass in the driver's side of the car and stole just the Garmin. They took nothing else. They took the GPS. So we couldn't go to Safe Light or to any body shop because it was Sunday. A lot of places were closed, and we had to get our ass home to catch the flight. So we drove 10 hours, through the Poconos with no driver's side window. We had to tape it up. So, I eventually fixed the car, whatever, but we fly to California. 5 days later, we're in San Francisco. We rented a van in California. Our drummer brought her cymbals, but we borrowed drums from a friend of hers. We have a bunch of gear in the car. We had a 3-day. I decided to go to Fisherman's Wharf and take a walk. I park at another hotel garage, get back, someone smashed the back of the car and took all our drummer's cymbals. And we were supposed to play live on the radio that evening. So that happened 5 days later, opposite side of the country. And what are the chances that you'll get broken into twice in 1 week on opposite sides of the country? There was some weird karma going around. So Then our last show was in Long Beach, and I had a free afternoon. I like to go running, so I decided to go run on the beach. I park, and I see this sketchy looking guy with a crowbar trying to break into the car right in front of me. And I ask him, I go, is everything okay? He goes, yeah, man, I just locked my keys in the car, man. It's really stressed. So I moved the car and I called 911 and I go, I figure if he's legit, he'll be okay. If he's trying to break into the car, I might have prevented a robbery, burglary. So sure enough, I'm running on the beach, and in the distance, I see this guy getting handcuffed to the car by the police. So you know how things happen in threes sometimes. This was, I prevented number three. Because
a perfect pair.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. But yeah, that was a weird week, man. I mean, the shows were good, but I had not had that happen to me before or since. Hopefully, I won't have it happen again. But it's a horrible feeling when someone breaks into your car. I don't know if
No,
that's happened to you, but
fortunately, actually, has it? No, fortunately hasn't happened yet. Well, I don't want to say yet.
Don't jinx it. Don't, yeah.
But so with the,
Yeah.
the symbols getting stolen, did you guys? I'm assuming you managed to find symbols before the show, then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how it happened. I think on the radio show, someone had symbols and they let Luciana use them. You know how symbols are so personal to a drummer. They're you can't just grab random symbols. It's, the feel, the height, the sound, everything,
Yeah, well, I was curious if you guys are going to do like, the Bill Bruford approach of just, okay, it's just no symbols.
Yeah, or the Phil Collins approach at some of the recordings he done. No, we didn't do that. And I told Lucy, I asked her if she had them insured, because I have all my stuff insured, and she did not. And I guess we didn't have time. We were going to go around the pawn shops and see if we could find her symbols, because a lot of times those are the easiest things to just, pawn for money. And they're easy to carry relatively compared to other gear.
Sure.
So that's probably what this person did, But yeah, that's another story.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I've never had anyone like break into my car to steal gear, but like I was living in Philadelphia. I went to school I went to Temple University, and I was there. I think it was like 2018 to 2022. So like during COVID, when the shitty the city, damn it, accidentally swearing. The city shut down, and there were the Black Lives Matters protests that unfortunately then turned into riots in the city. So like I was living there at the time. I went back home, and my apartment in the city ended up getting robbed, and I lost like 2 or 3 guitars, and kind of sucked. So I guess to make up for that, I ended up just buying like 40 more guitars.
Yeah.
And I guess like I just keep like it's fun having a collection, but like I do think a little bit of that has just been like, well, if I buy enough of them, it's not like you can steal all of them.
You can never have enough guitars or violins in my case. I just actually did an instrument tour I posted on my social media and YouTube, where I talk about all my different violins, electric and acoustic, and that was fun. So let's see. You want to hear another story?
Absolutely.
So before I joined Kansas, I spent 25 years freelancing, hustling. I did every kind of gig under the sun, some Broadway, playing in orchestras, backing up famous artists. And I did a lot of weddings and private events. So I got 2 stories dealing with private events. I did a lot of stuff in the Orthodox Jewish community, did a lot of Jewish weddings. And I got asked to play at this Torah retreat in Stamford, Connecticut in January. And they put me up in a hotel. They didn't want me driving on Shabbos. And I had a band that I worked in regularly in the Jewish scene that was my first call. I had to clear all the other dates with them. But this Torah retreat, they advertised my name and my face and had my picture on the poster. It was a big deal. But I double booked. It was a Saturday night. The other band had another event, and the guy would not let me go. He was really angry that I took that other job. I couldn't get out of it. Fortunately, by random chance, it was a mile away from where I was supposed to play. So I was trying to figure out how I could pull this off and be at 2 places at once. So I called my friend Earl, And Earl looks nothing like me. I'm 5'11". Earl is like a 5'3" short Asian man, bald. I'm almost bald. But anyway, he looks nothing like me. But see, the Torah gig was, I was a featured artist. The other gig, I think it was kind of a background music dance party, and any violinist could have kind of pulled it off. So Earl was kind enough, I owe him a lot, to be my wingman that night. So he showed up to the party, and I set up my gear at the first place, did the sound check, played the first part of the party. Then Earl just jumped in, and I drove and jumped on stage at the other place, and then drove back after that and finished the other gig. So it was like, the scene in Mrs. Doubtfire in the restaurant,
Yeah.
where you're
So,
going. Yeah.
you have kind of like I would call it a signature look with the hat that you wear. Did he have the
Yeah.
hat?
No, well, the band leader knew him and actually approved the idea.
Okay.
But yeah, I saved the situation, but it was. Then when I look back, I'm like, how did we pull that off? It's kind of crazy.
I, I
Um,
I love all the stories like that because I
yeah,
mean, ultimately, like the idea of gig nightmares is like, okay, how many like impossible things can be thrown at you, and well, how do you get through it? The show must always go on, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I call it living the anxiety dream. You have the anxiety dream where you're naked and you're not prepared, and you're always naked in the dream, or or
Sure.
your gear doesn't work, or people don't show up, or all those things have happened to me in real life. So at this point, nothing phases me. I mean, like there was another situation where I got back from vacation, and I was still kind of, my mind was dopey. I wasn't thinking straight. I never did this before. I had another private party 2 hours from my house, and I brought I get there and I realized I left my violin. I didn't bring my instrument.
Hmm.
And they needed specifically an electric violin for this party. I had a mandolin that I played for part of it that was in my car, but I had no violin. So this was in in Atlantic Beach, New York. It's near JFK, kind of the beginning of Long Island. It's like an island off the coast. So I was brainstorming, who do I know that's home right now, that's within like a driving radius, that could lend me an electric violin? That's a really narrow list of people. So fortunately, my friend Asher Laub, who is an electric violinist in the Jewish scene, and also a DJ and producer, he happened just by luck to be home. He lived 35 minutes away. So he brought me this. Can I curse on this show?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Brought me
did
this,
look at it already.
I don't know why he did this. I guess he didn't open the case, but he brought me this piece of shit uh, electric violin that was like a glow in the dark. It was like an LED lighted violin, but it was a Chinese imitation of an Aurora. And Aurora is a really good version of that. But this
Uh-huh.
thing, it had broken in half and it was duct taped. And the bow had like one or two hairs on it. And literally the instrument was writhing in my hands the whole time because it kept going out of tune, because it's like someone smashed it. It's the wall. So it was the longest 4 hours of my life, because the band leader kept calling me for solos and I was just barely getting through playing this thing. And it was a good punishment. It was me learning my lesson, never, ever, ever to forget my instrument again.
That reminds me of a gig I did
Yeah.
last summer. I was filling in on bass with like an act that did like kind of like 80s hard rock covers, but also some originals and whatever.
Mhm.
I was playing bass for that, and I took two basses. I always, whenever I'm playing anything, it's always good to have two, your main and then your backup in case you break a string, obviously. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have my Spectre bass. It was a Spectre Legend. Love the sound of it. Really nice preamp. You can dial in just about any sound with it. But
Mhm.
for whatever reason, it requires not one but two 9-volt batteries. So I was practicing that morning. One of the batteries seemed a little bit off, so like I changed that battery. But for whatever reason, didn't change the other battery. I get to the gig and we're doing sound check, and the sound check isn't that long before the actual show. And I'm getting like this weird, like electronics synth pedal kind of sound, which usually means it's dying. The other battery was dying. It's like, well, I don't have
Mhm.
time to go get another 9-volt battery, and I also didn't happen to bring one because Well, I didn't know to bring one at that time. So I had my backup bass, which was a Chinese made four-string fretless, which if you I kept meaning to take it to a shop and get it fixed up and whatever. But basically, like the D string, if you would pluck it too hard, there was like a 50% chance that it would pop out of the nut, and you would have to like.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I had to and like the guitar player, there was like two guitar players in that band. I just had like a fairly small, like I kind of prefer not to have too much stage volume. That's just a personal preference. But this was more of like an old school kind of band. So like the guitar player had like, cabinets that were taller than him. Meanwhile, I just have like my small bass amp and just was it's like I'm playing fretless, which I don't have a whole lot of like I like to do it at night,
Right.
but I wouldn't consider myself Tony Franklin.
Right. It's a different animal. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. I can barely hear myself through my amp and through the monitors. So like a lot of it, I'm more or less just kind of playing blind, but for the most part, it didn't go all that bad. But
You got through it.
it's
Because
not
you're
an
a pro.
experience to relive.
Yeah. You just reminded me. I have a lot of wedding stories. I've done a lot of weddings in my life, and all these crazy things seem to happen. So this is another party band I was playing in, and they used in-ear monitors. And I had my channel, but it was one of those where you have the app on your phone where you do your own mix,
Yep.
Q mix, I think it was called. And now in front of me on stage, this was a dance band. I was playing electric violin. In front of me was a keytar on a
Oh, nice.
stand. The keytar on a stand. I had the keytar's channel muted because it was only used on 2 songs in the set, and the rest of the time it just stood there. A half hour before the end of the night, some drunk guy knocks the keytar over. As soon as that happens, I can't hear myself at all. Nothing.
What happened?
So I'll tell you that later, but basically I started just faking. I'm like, well, this gig's going to be over soon. I'm just going to pretend I'm playing. Sax player taps me on the shoulder. He's like, dude, what the hell are you playing? We're in B flat. What are you doing? And I'm like realizing that everyone else could hear me except me.
Oh,
And I'm playing the violin.
uh-huh.
Fortunately, I have a fretted electric violin which comes in handy in situations such as these.
Sure.
So I kind of played sparsely and figured out what key we were in and played some notes and got through it. At the end of the night, the engineer, who was baffled, lets me know that somehow when that keytar got flipped, our channels got switched in the monitors. So my channel was muted, was the keytar channel, and the keytar got on my channel. So that's what happened. No one knows why it happened.
It doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make any sense unless the engineer flipped something by accident.
Yeah,
That could have been it.
it's always fun running into issues that just make no sense. I think 2 weeks ago we were playing in maybe Secaucus, New Jersey, like a
Mhm.
public park or whatever, and we're doing sound check. I like using wireless stuff, wireless guitar, wireless in-ears, bass player.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah.
So, but the keyboard player, obviously the keyboard is stationary, so that's wired. But for some reason, I think it was the DI box actually, but somehow like the wired DI box was picking up radio signals. It wasn't any of our wireless, guitar, ears, whatever. Not any of that picking up any wireless, but a wired DI box. I don't understand that.
It
Like,
sounds like a Spinal Tap moment, where he's getting those radio signals on stage.
but like at least that logically makes sense. It's like, okay, radio signals picking up. That makes sense. How is a
Sure.
wire nothing wireless DI box picking that up? Makes no sense to me.
That's weird. But no, I think I've had that happen with wireless DI boxes.
No, but like it was
Um,
the box, like everything was plugged in. There was nothing no wireless signals being sent.
oh, I see what
I
you're
don't
saying.
get.
Yeah. How did you remedy it? How did you fix it?
Fortunately, our sound guy had another DI box and that fixed it.
Oh, okay. So you were able to flip it out.
I- This that's bizarre. I don't have any explanation for that.
Some things just technology solves a lot of problems, but it creates new ones.
Sure.
You know, and new ones that you couldn't even invent. That just freak things happen all the time. But this other story is not. It's not technological. This is I book a lot of string ensembles for different wedding offices in New York. I still do that on the side. So a few years back, I was asked to put together a trio with violin, cello, and piano to play for a memorial service for someone who passed away. This was a big company called Hank Lane Music. They're one of the biggest private event companies in the tri-state area. I don't know if you ever worked, maybe you've worked for them.
I have not.
That's so they wanted they have a very specific list of repertoire. They wanted some classical, some jazz, some pop show tunes, like a variety of stuff. To find a pianist who plays classical well and jazz pretty well is not easy, surprisingly so. There's not a lot that can inhabit both worlds. Same with cellists. There's a lot of good classical cellists, there's a few good jazz cellists, but there's not a lot that can kind of do both things. So I found the people, and I spent a lot of time putting this music together, and worked really hard on it. We get to the gig, and we had no rehearsal. We're just we've never played together, this trio, and we were told it was background music, so we could kind of bullshit our way through it and fake it, and it would be okay. So I go to the host. I go, so is there a particular order you want us to play this music in? They're like, oh, no, you don't have to play this stuff. Play whatever you want. After I did all that work. Then, so, are we out indoors, outdoors? They set us up in a church, and it was a concert. Everyone was piled in, probably like 200 people, dead silence, just staring at us. Like 100% focused on us, who have never played together in our lives, and had to pull a set list out of our ass and put this stuff together. And it was very nerve-wracking, because it wasn't, I'm used to playing background cocktail hours where they're just talking and not paying attention to you, and the pressure is a little bit off. But this was really like, we had to act like a polished group. Fortunately, we got through it, but yeah, that was intense. And that's an anxiety dream right there. I think, it was classical music. It was jazz standards. It was, kind of specific stuff that, not a lot of people can pull off spontaneously. So
That's awesome. Amazing. Like, I found myself in situations like that where, like, okay, whatever circumstances of the show changed, so we need to put together like a new set list. Like, that's kind of what I did recently. But like, we were mostly just putting together like, okay, classic rock, country, blues rock, stuff that even if not everyone knows note for note, you can still just like improvise and jam on it and whatever. Whereas like I feel like doing that with classical music would probably be a lot harder. I mean, like there's not really too much, like when you mention like some players can do both, like obviously the jazz is more the improv side, the classical is more of like the reading, sight reading sort of stuff. So obviously like I don't know, like I feel like it definitely is a higher caliber of musicianship to pull something like that off more
well,
effectively.
we were all classically trained, and we had music to read from. It's not like we were just doing it by memory, but we had to kind of create arrangements, change arrangements on the spot. It's not just sight reading; it's also the sound, the phrasing. It's a certain kind of playing that's different. Than if you're used to playing pop, rock, and jazz and stuff like that. But what I always think, wedding musicians are kind of seen as the bottom of the totem pole by, I guess, the general public, or certain other musicians. But in my years of doing it, there's a certain art to be able to pull 1,000 songs out of your ass at any time, dealing with difficult clients, making adjustments on the spot, not breaking a sweat doing it. It's a real art form, and I know a lot of people in very highly esteemed bands that probably couldn't hang with those kind of gigs. It really toughens you up. So I have deep respect for people that have been doing that work for a long time. I've met some of the greatest musicians ever in those gigs.
Yep, I believe it.
So yeah.
Oh, so I kind of wanted to hear the Ritchie Blackmore story that you have. 'Cause, I mean, just like you end up hearing so many nightmare stories about him. There's the I guess infamous quote from Ronnie James Dio saying, "I learned how not to treat people from working with Ritchie Blackmore."
Um, I have the deepest respect for Ritchie. He's a legend. He's written Smoke on the Water. I mean, he's written some of the greatest riffs of all time.
Sure.
And this was not really, I wouldn't say it was a bad experience. It was an interesting experience. I don't know who recommended me, but I got called to record a few songs on his 2006 album, Ghost of a Rose. I drove out to his house. He lived way out in Long Island, near where the ferry to Connecticut leaves. I forget the name of the town, but he had a beautiful house right overlooking the Long Island Sound. And I go there. He answers the door, and he's recording this in his basement studio. So the producer is there, and I'm recording the stuff, and it was cool. I did 3 tracks, and everywhere the gold records, Rainbow, Deep Purple. There's suits of armor on the walls because he's really into medieval stuff and Renaissance music and stuff like that. So a few weeks later, he calls, and basically in the following weeks, I started rehearsing and going there regularly because they fired their previous violinist. They were interested in having me join Blackmore's Night and tour with them.
Wow.
But the previous violinist doubled on recorder, and I hadn't played recorder since 3rd grade, so I started practicing recorder and even took some lessons. And contrary to what people might think, recorder is hard to really play it well. It's not just they give it to you in 3rd grade at school, and it's not really my thing. I was never like a woodwind or brass guy. I was always a string guy. I played guitar, I played bass, violin. I worked hard. So I get there, and we were rehearsing, and everything's cool, and we're going out to dinner. And then he starts giving me different woodwind instruments to play. And then when I can't play him, I squeak on him. He's like storms off in frustration. I'm like, I'm not your guy, But Ritchie was an interesting character. So he was really into the occult, and we would go to his favorite restaurant after rehearsal in the town where he lived. They'd always have his table prepared, and all he would talk about is seances and ghosts. And there was a ghost in the restaurant that he was friends with, and everyone in his band was really into it. And they were testing me to see if I was into, contacting the dead. And I mean, I'm open to there being parallel worlds that we don't understand, and I'm open to the idea of the afterlife and ghosts. I'm not a person that rules things out. But I have barely enough time to deal with living people. To stay in touch with living people, let alone dead. I'll see all the dead people when I'm dead. So it's not really my thing. But I was like, oh, cool. So there was a rehearsal where we get to the restaurant. It was a Friday night. It was very busy at the restaurant, and Ritchie was really nervous because the ghost was upset because there were too many people there. And the other thing with that band, they were planning a tour of castles in Europe in July, which they always do, but the dates kept changing. And usually at that time I was doing the wedding scene and freelancing, and I had to commit to people in advance because that's how I made a living. And I couldn't get them to nail down the dates. I kept so many people on hold, and I lost a lot of work. But basically, in the end, they never officially told me that I wasn't going to do the tour. They just stopped calling. Which was, not the best way to handle it, because I had all these other commitments I had to answer, but it was I'm grateful for the experience, because it was really cool to play with Ritchie, to jam with him, to record on his album, to go to his house. And I think what he's doing is really interesting. I guess I wasn't the guy for the job. That's understandable. They needed someone who played all these other instruments, which I don't play. So, it was a positive experience, and I got to be on the record, which was cool. And they're still touring. So, I don't have anything bad to say about Ritchie Blackmore. If he's listening. It was a very interesting experience. I'll always remember,
And you have a great story to tell from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So awesome. He's a character. The other thing about Ritchie, he's a very shy person. I was at his house for our Christmas party, and it was packed, and he never left the basement. He was in the basement tending bar, listening to his favorite German Renaissance band, but he never went upstairs. He's a very shy, kind of introverted person, even though he's a performer. It's kind of interesting,
That's awesome. I can just imagine him down, I saw Blackmore's Night one time, maybe about 10 years ago, and I remember like obviously he has like the whole Renaissance outfit and everything. Like I like to imagine, I'm imagine he doesn't, but I like to imagine he just wears that every day.
Um, no,
I
but
figured
yeah,
that.
but
It
he
would
was
be
really
like
good.
a fun, it'd be a fun mental image of him like in his basement on Christmas, just being the bartender in
Yeah,
full Renaissance garb.
yeah, yeah. No, he was not, but that would have been cool. Um, but yeah, he also straight up told me he hates jazz, you know, which is weird because I think there are some very improvisational things in their music, in Deep Purple's music and his early stuff that um, are jazz esque in some ways, you know. And
Sure,
I
but
love jazz. I come from a jazz background too, so I
yeah,
was like,
exactly like with
wow,
your
yeah,
extensive jazz background,
yeah.
it's like I'm curious, like, so how did he find you? Well, someone you said someone recommended you, right, to him?
I don't remember who it was. Maybe someone I went to school with, or a mutual. Maybe it was the bass player because I think I had done some wedding gigs with his bass player. It could have been him. Yeah, I'll never know.
Music is just
It's
so
hard to keep track.
fascinating. It's always just like
Yeah.
a sort of thing. It's amazing the connections you make.
I see it as I always tell people it's like, planting a garden. You plant the seeds, you keep watering the garden and weeding the garden, and eventually bears fruit. And by that analogy, I mean the people you meet in the music world, one thing leads to another, and when you trace the branches of from where you are to where you started, who you met that got you to somebody else that you met that got you to where you are today. It's very fascinating, and it keeps going. The thing is, man, I was telling younger people not to just stay in your room and play for yourself, or just, it's cool to post stuff on social media, but go out and meet people, go to concerts, go to jam sessions. That's equally important,
Absolutely.
so
Were there any other
yeah.
stories you had then?
There's a million. I can't, I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of them. I'll tell you one more. So this is when Alex Skolnick was in Stratospheerius. This was way back. It was like 2002, and we were supposed to play a nude pagan festival in upstate in Western New York State. A
All right.
clothing optional. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, we used to do a lot of these weird hippie festivals, And at the time, I didn't have a van, and there was this guy who shall remain nameless that was kind of following the band and did our merge and drove us and had a van. So we were supposed to meet in front of Alex's apartment on 97th Street and drive to 7 hours to Sherman, New York, where this festival was taking place. The guy never showed up,
Oh,
and I didn't have the vehicle, and it was July. All the rentals were booked. So our drummer's mom dropped her off, and we switched cars, and she let us take the car. And this festival was crazy. There was like a giant fire pit with a drum circle that was going on all night, and a lot of naked people, that not the kind of naked people you want to see.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Usually that. And then we slept. I think it was muddy and rainy. We slept on the ground, and then we had to fly back, drive back, and fly out like for another gig the next day. So everyone was miserable. Months later, I found out this guy got arrested.
Ah,
Yeah, that's why he never showed. Another arrest story. Yeah, I'm not even going to tell you what it was for, but yeah, it's not a good thing. I didn't know this guy, so another little story. But yeah,
well,
you make it work, man. We got to the gig, we played the gig, we survived. It wasn't the best situation.
well, show
Um,
must go on.
Show must go on. But the thing is, if you want to be a musician, expect these kinds of things to happen. And if your love of music transcends all these uncomfortable, weird situations, then you're in the right place. If one bad situation makes you want to quit, then you shouldn't be in this business.
All right. Well, I've
So
appreciated the conversation. I know, just giving you a chance to like promote anything you have going on. Like with Stratospheerius, Stratospheerius, Imposter came out last year, 2024. I
yeah,
love, Outrage Olympics, and also like the cover of Frame by Frame is just amazing. Like it's one of
thank
the
you.
few times that I'll say like I think that a cover surpasses the original, or at least like expands on the ideas of the original. Because like I love Frame by Frame. When
Wow.
I'm like warming up, it's one of my, if I'm testing a clean sound, like that verse, that's usually my go-to thing. So like the way that you guys have like built on top of that is just awesome, and I love it.
Thank you so much. You know, that song, we don't do a lot of covers, but that song really spoke to me because that ostinato riff that Robert Fripp does works perfectly on the violin. And I thought it'd be cool to recreate it on the violin. And Adrian Ballou's voice, which I love, is right in my vocal range. So the song just sat well with us, and we thought it would work as a Stratospheerius cover. So I'm glad people have reacted so positively to it. So I'll do a quick plug. We have 2 shows coming up with Stratospheerius. One is on October 5th at Kennett Flash near Philadelphia, with us and the T Club, which is fronted by Dan McGowan, bass player from Kansas.
Oh, awesome.
So it's two bands led by members of Kansas. So that's Sunday, October 5th at Kennett Flash, PA. And then on November 5th, we're playing at Daryl's house in Pawling, New York. What day of the week is November 5th? I think that's
I believe it's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. The Daryl's house, that's owned by Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates. It's a really cool venue. It's up kind of near Poughkeepsie. And we hope to do more shows, but you know, Kansas has like such a crazy touring schedule. So Stratospheerius is still my passion, and we still love to play, and we play whenever we can, but it's mostly, you know, regional shows these days, you know. Awesome. And we're always working on new music. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah.
I'm really hoping, I'm pretty sure like that November 5th, that's a Wednesday. Normally the 80s band, we rehearse on Wednesdays, but I'm hoping we can get off that day so I can drag Glory up to, you know, we can go see you.
Oh, that'd be great. It's a really cool venue. I went up there, I saw a Kansas tribute band called No Return.
Nice.
And really fell in love with the venue. So I'm glad that they've invited us to play.
That's a really cool place. I saw Marky Ramone there, I think a year and a half ago, and it's just like intimate place there. I love it there.
It's all wood. It feels like a giant wooden shack, but the acoustics are cool. It's a good listening room. You know,
absolutely. Well, Joe, just
awesome.
Thank you for being a guest here on Gig Nightmares, telling some stories, and thank you for keeping the music alive.
Great, thanks for having me. I hope no one gets mad at me for telling these stories. I hope I didn't get anyone in trouble. And yeah, I'll let me know when it comes out. I'll plug it.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Gig Nightmares. Gig Nightmares is an independently produced podcast made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you enjoyed this week's episode, we would appreciate if you left a rating and a review for us. Gig Nightmares.